Tony Blair says that Labour's position on Brexit is destructive indecision. Is he right?
Look, one of the things that I found extraordinary about your interview with Tony was that in all of that, he did not mention the word democracy. And the fact is, and we've seen it in the polls that you showed up there about the support in the polls for the Brexit Party, people in this country are angry. They're angry that the referendum result has not been delivered on by an incompetent government. And there's a protest that is being signalled by those figures, 34% saying that they would go for Brexit. There's no policies in this party. No policies, just one. It's that they want to leave the European Union without a deal. Now, this is extraordinary, though, Sophie, absolutely extraordinary, because we cannot let Mr. Nigel Farage redefine what the referendum was about. The referendum was about leaving the EU. Now, it wasn't, at that time, there was no talk of no deal. There was no talk of going on to WTO terms. We were going to leave with the deal. So he's changed his position on that. More than that, if you look at the time of the referendum, he actually held up Norway, Farage held up Norway as a model of what Britain could be as an independent sovereign nation outside of the EU, yet a part of a single market. So what we're seeing is a huge amount of anger, but what he is subtly doing, or less than subtly doing, Mr. Farage is now trying to con the British people that what they voted for and hasn't been delivered is actually now what he says it is, and it's not.
So listening to what you're saying there about democracy, about what people voted for, is Labour a pro-Brexit party now?
Tony was right to say that we have always, as a party, and most of the MPs in the Labour Party believe that we should have remained in the European Union. We campaigned for that at the referendum, and most of the Labour MPs voted to remain. But when that referendum came in, we said, look, we made you a promise. We made you a promise that what you decided is what we would do. And when we went to the Supreme Court, when it came to the Supreme Court about triggering Article 50, the Supreme Court got it absolutely right. The Supreme Court said the referendum decided that we should leave the EU. It is now for Parliament to decide how we leave the EU.
So just to be crystal clear, the Labour position is that we should leave the EU.
That's what we've been trying to do with these negotiations with the government. That's why we're there. Look, what happened was the Conservative Party, Theresa May's party, could not negotiate a decent deal with Europe, and then because it was such a bad deal, they couldn't get it through Parliament. We've been saying now since February of last year that we believe there is an alternative way of doing this.
So are you trying to bail out the Tories then, as you said?
Look, we're trying to bail out the country because of the Tories' failure, of course, because we believe that we have to act in the best interest of the country. But that's not just simply the economic interests, which we are trying to protect with the customs union, that we're trying to protect by ensuring that the rights and protections that we have in the workplace are always maintained and uplifted. We are absolutely clear about that. But on the other side, we believe it's important that as a country, we respect the promises that we made and the democratic decision of the people. And we're the only party that is actually trying to appeal not to this half of the population or that half of the population.
Theresa May would probably argue that she is trying to do the same thing. I mean, you can disagree with her methods, can't you? You can disagree with her, what she's doing, but she would argue that she's trying to do that as well by putting forward a deal. Are you optimistic that the talks with the Conservative Party will work?
She has singularly failed, and she needs to recognise that. And that's why ultimately, after we should have, after the date we were supposed to have left the EU, she had to then come to the Labour Party and say, you know what, guys, I think maybe you might be right after all, that if we can protect rights, protect our environment, and actually go for a customs union, maybe we can actually get this deal over the line and through Parliament. Now, I don't know whether this deal is going to work because you saw what happened last week. You saw the way in which the government broke the confidentiality agreement that they had about those talks. And what you've seen is different cabinet ministers and different putative successors to Theresa May all going in different directions.
Oh, come on. So the Labour front benches as well, let's be honest.
No, look. We're talking about their view on Brexit and the negotiations, right? And what they've been doing is they have been outbidding each other in the leadership war to try and be the most right-wing they can possibly be because they think that that is what the Tory grassroots will vote in as the next
Now,
leader.
I'm keen to talk as well about the US-China trade war as well.
So am I. Indeed.
Exactly.
Can I just finish that, though? And that is to say that we don't know at this stage, even if we could negotiate a deal, what we don't know is whether the successor to Theresa May would actually deliver on it. And that's one of the big sticking points that we have.
Okay.